viļņi, brāzmas un tāds sanlietus, kas iemāc pieticību. Reiz mēs pamēģinājām vadus un caurules, kas nāk no austrumiem. Tie nāca kopā ar saistībām. Mēs tās nolēmām nogriezt. Šis ir vēja ģenerators, bet mūsu pusē to devē par brīvību ar 12 apgriezieniem minūtē. Katra turbīna nozīmē zemākus rēķinus, tīrāku gaisu un enerģiju, kas radīta pašu spēkiem. Katra turbīna nes brīvību no visiem, kas domā, ka Latviju var izslēgt. Šejienes vējš runā mūsu valodā, godīgā un brīvā. No jūras, pāri mežiem līdz klajumiem, šis vējš ir mūsu. Savā zemē, sava enerģija.
Hello, everybody. Good day. Today we are here to discuss the matter of our own energy in our own land. But before we start, I'd like to give a warm welcome to the Deputy Head of Missions at the Embassy of Denmark in Latvia, Alexander. He would like to greet us.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. My name is Alexander. I'm a Deputy Head of Mission at the Danish Embassy here in Latvia. I'm very pleased to open this conversation, a conversation about a very, very important matter, the green transition. Of course, now, today, you're primarily going to discuss the green transition and implementing the green transition on a municipality level. But it's, of course, not about what municipalities do. It's about what we do as countries, as Europe, as well as on a global stage. In Denmark, we had 69 days of political negotiations before we had a new government. I think you had a government a bit faster than us, but according to our new government, it's the greenest government ever. So I'm personally looking very much forward to see what's in line. But of course, the green transition is not only about climate today. It's also about security policy. It's about competitiveness. We are talking on an EU level on a daily basis how we are lagging behind China and the US. So I'm looking very much forward to hear not only about windmills, but also how the green transition can be an economic tool for municipalities in Latvia. And I'm very pleased that we have an expert from a Danish municipality, Aabenraa Kommune, who can tell a bit about the Danish experiences in this matter. So thank you very much for coming, and over to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Alexander. Indeed, today we will be discussing how green energy can become more than a climate policy tool, and how it can support local welfare, energy security, jobs, innovations, and overall more resilient communities. I'm Arta. I will be the moderator. I'm from Ecosol. I work in environmental protection. Today we are very lucky. We have a vast array of representatives from different fields. We have representatives from the state government, from Climate and Energy Ministry. We have municipal representatives, private sector representatives, as well as, and I'm very glad to say this truly, and I'm very happy for all of you that you get to hear her, we have Hanne from Aabenraa. Please, let's try to benchmark this conversation against Hanne and Aabenraa's experience, because in Latvia we have talked a lot about these matters, but it seems like we're kind of stuck, and maybe let's try to learn a bit from Denmark and their positive experiences. And now maybe short intros. Alnis, would you like to start?
Yes, well, I'm Alnis. I'm the head of the European Energy Latvia here, and also here in another hat, I'm head of the Latvian Renewable Energy Association, which clip you saw before we started this session.
And I'm Hanne Klintē. I'm from Aabenraa Municipality in Denmark and head of Power to X development as well as green growth in our region.
Hello, I'm Einārs Cilinskis. I am Parliamentary Secretary of the Ministry of Climate and Energy for 1 month. Besides that, I am a member of Riga City Council and have worked in quite a long time in the Ministry of Economics, also at the period when it was the ministry responsible for energy.
Hello everyone. My name is Andis Zariņš. I am Ventspils municipality mayor. Not so long period, 1 year. And of course, in Ventspils we have many green renewable projects indeed. And of course, we have very good experience with governmental, with municipality level, and of course in developer level. And okay, we should today discuss for better future.
Thank you. So that it's not just us having a conversation, but the stakeholders are engaged as well. And in this case, these are the listeners to our discussion. I kindly ask all of you to join our Slido. Can we have the QR code and hashtag on the screens, please? Join Slido at hashtag Savā enerģija or by scanning the QR code. And please give us your first impressions of what risks and, on the other hand, what benefits could renewable energy development bring to your specific municipality where you're from, if you see any of these. At the end of our discussion, we'll have a look at the results and ask our panelists to give their first unfiltered impressions about these responses. So I think we should get started now. I think we're all effectively acquainted with each other. Since I already said how much of a fan I am of Hanne and Abbenra, and how much I think personally we could learn from Abbenra municipality, I think that we'll start with a bit of a experience exchange interview with Hanne. First of all, thank you for coming to Latvia today. Abbenra is presented as a Danish municipal leader in renewable energy, at least according to your website. What was the turning point that made the municipality treat green energy and green transition as a development strategy rather than just obliging the national climate goals?
Yes, thank you for the question, and very happy to be here. The turning point, you can say almost the ignition, was the very ambitious climate law that was implemented in Denmark in 2020, which basically meant the politicians had to make a plan. How are we going to implement this? How are we going to follow this? Very quickly, though, they said, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to have to build a lot of energy capacity. Doesn't that mean that we then build a new sector? And doesn't a new sector mean jobs and growth and tax incomes and all sorts of good things for an agricultural municipality that has had a very, very hard time building growth and holding on to its citizens? What we see overall in pretty much every agricultural municipality in Europe is that people are moving away. They're moving to the large cities. The young people move in to have education, and then they never come back because there isn't a lot for them there. With green energy, what the municipality foresaw was that there would be new jobs, there would be a higher standard of living because of the income, and therefore it was worth betting on the green transition, but not as a climate strategy, as a growth strategy.
Thank you. And how has the renewable energy development in Abbenra thus far strengthened, up until this point, the resilience of your local community? What are the outcomes that you have seen so far?
I think resilience is something you build over time, and it's something that you need to have in your sight when you scan the landscape for opportunities and you say, could the green transition be something for us? Can it give us something? Then resilience is the long goal. So if we look at agricultural municipalities, the rural municipalities, then their biggest problem is that when people move away, they don't have income, so they can't keep up the roads, they can't keep up the houses, the thing basically just gets dilapidated and people move away. Then there isn't a great offer there to attract new people. So in a way, it just falls into the sand. So with the green transition, because we know that is long term, the green transition will build resilience. It will mean that we won't have such a large climate disaster. Then there's a lot that comes with it. In order to build the green transition, we need better infrastructure. We need to improve our electric grid. We need pipelines for hydrogen. We need all these different parts of infrastructure. And once we have that, we have resilience. So the resilience is the long-term goal, but on the short term, we have quite a good system in Denmark. We have a green fund. So every developer, which you would know, pays into this national pool whenever they do a green energy project. And that then, by percentage, gets funneled back to the municipality. The local villages can then say to the municipality, okay, we now have the pool. We would like to build a new playground in our village to improve life for our citizens in the village. And then you apply, and then you get the money and you build. So instantly, you see the value built in your local community from the energy project that you see out in the fields or wherever it's been built. And that has gone really well in Aabenraa, and that means that the citizens actually understand the value. They see their young people working at the Power-to-X facility that we have. They see their uncles or brothers or wives or whoever working as electricians or blacksmiths or whatever to build all these different plants. So all around, they can see that there's activity and there's jobs, but there's also a transformation of the local community.
Great, but to put a little bit of salt in the pot of honey, what would be some mistakes, or maybe not mistakes, but just lessons that you have learned that you would like to warn us in Latvia about, that we're just about to start the transition?
I've been to Latvia once before, so I've had some information about how it's going here and what might be needed. And one thing that I believe is needed, and maybe that's a little bit of a message for you to take home, is that perhaps the overall goals from the national level don't quite match the tools in the local communities. I would say Latvia probably needs to build a bridge somehow. I strongly recommend the Green Fund. I think it's a really good mechanism. It can't stand on its own, but it's a very good start, and it's one that's easy for the local communities to understand. And once you start getting that return of value out in the communities, then you also get more trust politically, because you said you would implement this system, you implemented the system, we can now see the playground in our local community, therefore we can trust you. So I think the green transition can also be an opportunity to build trust between ministries, government, and the local community. And then I think the other learning is that building out a grid for electrification, that really takes some strong long-term planning and also great coordination between the national level and local level. We have a little bit of a bottleneck in Denmark at the moment, and we're not too happy about it.
Thank you, Hanne, so much. A question to the other panelists, and whoever jumps to the microphone the fastest can answer first, or I'll ask someone to. But hearing a little bit about the experience in Denmark, what do you think Latvia can learn, and what do you think simply cannot be copied because some of our context is different?
Yes, thank you. First of all, we have something similar, maybe not in that extent, but it's regarding the payment from the developer of the wind energy to the local community. And this law was, it's interesting, it was developed when current Ministry of Climate and Energy was still in the Minister of Economics, and I was working at that time in the Ministry of Economics as a civil servant on the law. So then it was the amendment to the law of electric energy adopted, and then after that already transferred to the Ministry of Climate and Energy, and they adopted detailed regulations. And the essence of that regulation is that each developer pays annual payment, which is 2,500 euro for each megawatt of installed capacity to the local government. And the payment is distributed in a way that 50% of the income gets the local government for infrastructure like roads, etc. And another 50% goes to the inhabitants which are living in 2 kilometers range from the wind park. Of course, we have very little new wind farms fully developed and operational from the period when it was developed. But we think that it might be as a starting mechanism, and when it will be operational and the people will start getting actual money and see implemented projects, then it can a bit change the attitude to the wind energy, which is currently quite negative.
Okay.
I think so far from me.
Okay, but before we have these projects developed and operational, and before we have these funds, a question to Ainārs maybe, should renewable energy be discussed more openly as a national and local security question, as a matter of local municipal development, not only as a climate policy? And is there a shift in the messaging and in the reasoning behind the green transition?
Well, for sure, there should be such discussion, and it might be from the political levels, and there should be definitely from the project development levels. And so we got very good experience with Andis when we started our solar project in Targale, and the first real thing what we did, we paid a visit to Andis, and Mayor Andis was deputy at that time, and we opened the discussions already what they need, how they see, so that we understand. That was our private initiative, but I should say it should be also politically. And here I cannot talk that much about Abendra experience from my Danish colleagues. I can talk a little bit on our European energy experience in Lithuania. When we started the development here in Latvia in 2021, the European energy already was established very strongly in Lithuania. And they already had the windmills running quite in big scale. And we just paid a visit there. to talk to our Lithuanian colleagues, and we put simply a question: how it comes that you managed to build so quickly the wind parks there, and we are in Latvia struggling? He said it's very, very simple, actually. The municipalities are inviting us to come, and we should establish this also in Latvia. And I understood that's been built in Denmark very, very much, which actually comes from the strategic, from political vision. But it's not only the vision, not only nice PowerPoint presentations and Word documents, but it's actually something tangible what you can get. And here we should establish this system also in Latvia, that there are incentives or carrots for the municipalities really to attract these investments, to understand really what are the benefits for this.
Thank you, Alni. And maybe Andis can give an opinion from the other side, from the other standpoint. What would make you say, yes, this developer is attractive one. We want this project. This project would be good for us.
Okay, but before I answer about this question, I want to say a few words about this Targala experience with Alnis. Yes, they come. First of all, asked to municipality, we want developing the solar park, and what are you thinking about that? What peoples and inhabitants want to there? Okay, we discussing, and after this discussing, Alnis made the public discussion with local inhabitants, and that no one answered it, no one asked him to do that, but they want to explain what will be, what they want to be, and discuss with the local people, and there is the main point, discussing with local people. Municipality can't give you the permission, go and build it, but if you have the permission from the local people, there is this idea fly, and that's his main point. But about this question, what are you asking? If you municipality say yes to the renewable project, I will say this first energies security. This is very main point in nowadays now in Latvia. What about the electricity cost? All people want to know. Maybe the electricity will be cheaper, and this is one of the main question in local people. What they get from this project? And from Danish colleagues, this experience about this fund. In Latvia, we have only fund from the wind turbines, but this fund not will be in the first payment, because no one park till today are built. And I think this is two main points from the local people, for governmental, not for governmental, but municipal level jobs, not only in construction time, but what kind of business infrastructure we can build around this green energy producer. This is a discussion with investment agency too, and yes, these three questions, 3 marks.
Great, thank you. I call this intangible permit from the locals a social license to operate. It's not a paper. You can't get it by submitting a proposal to the municipality, but it can only come to fruition through open and honest communications and building synergies between developers and the local communities. Hearing this, what comes to mind is also on this, what kind of partnership do municipalities need from the state? What kind of support and partnership do municipalities need from the state, from the developers, and maybe some other players like NGOs? What capacities do you need to still build in order to attract these projects and build growth upon them?
In my municipality, we don't have special people who works with energy projects and etc. But what we need from the government and this developer, we must be on one page all. Government must be very quickly about permissions and clearly definite what they can do. And of course, developer need to be very open in communication with local peoples, but it's all together. And from municipality, we must need clearly signed what will be next. It's not. It's just a start. It's not the end. This project, and it need be a plan for next steps.
Okay, and from the state government side, what, in your opinion, or how does the ministry look at municipalities? What should a well-prepared municipality that, in your eyes, would be ready to get these projects going? What should be their toolkit? What should they work towards? And how do you see you could help them? What concrete reform or support mechanism do you need to implement?
Yes, I think the Danish example is something that can be looked upon also in a wider sense, because we somehow speaking on this topic, we are speaking only separately regarding wind energy. And then if it's so, local municipality can't see the wider interest, because even if there are some jobs, the modern wind farm has rather few jobs at the moment, and everything works automatically, I think it is very important that we look at the possibility of wider growth of industry. And also from my previous job in the Ministry of Economics, we are looking, there is a new European regulation on net zero industries and critical raw materials, and now the Industrial Accelerator Act is approaching. And all these mechanisms are aimed to for European autonomy, not only energy autonomy, but also industrial autonomy. And it is an opportunity for, maybe not all municipalities, but especially in the municipalities who have their ports around for the export facilities and so on, but not only. I think Jelgava region, which don't have any ports, is working quite well with these future net zero valleys or hydrogen valleys, or combined something like that. And then if you can show that it is wider growth possibilities, wider jobs, I think it is the attitude, and then the wind or solar is just something that is fueling this wider valley or industry. That's how we work. We look in future. We are working. That's from my previous job with the Ministry of Economics, where I possibly will return after the ministry, the political job will end. And we work together with scientists from Latvian University to look on the economical mechanisms, how these valleys can be introduced. So that's maybe one direction. It is not everything, but how I see that.
Can I comment?
Yes.
Thank you. Exactly. Now we're getting somewhere. Now I'm getting really excited. Basically, this is the kind of system state thinking that means that OpenRå is now taking a leading stand. You said in the beginning, like how we've become a leader. At least it says so on the website. But we are a leader in terms of how much energy we have implemented. So how much capacity has been implemented on the ground. Also on the fact that we are the only place that has a full green energy value chain, meaning the sun out in the field, like your solar plant, creating electrolysis from that, where you create hydrogen with the green energy. Then you get some surplus heat. We use that for district heating, cheap heating for all the citizens. Then we create green fuels from the hydrogen. Then we have something to fuel our ships with in the port. And we have bunkering on the port, so more can pick up the green e-methanol that European energy makes. And all of a sudden, you have a whole string of different businesses that are connected because we started implementing solar in the municipality. And there's a lot of side effects that comes with this. So if the ministry can deploy and give advantages to the municipalities that deploy for full value chains, then you are sure that you get a diversified value in the local communities.
And again, moving to the state and after to the municipal level, taking all of this in account, do municipalities in Latvia currently have enough tools to shape this transition like you have described before? Is the capacity there?
Yeah, I think I can maybe now put another hat and look from the Riga municipality point of view. I think yes and no. First of all, Riga municipality don't have any ownership regarding Riga port, which is something that might change in future. It was because of political disagreements between former Riga city council and government, which were different political parties, and so the port is fully under the governmental control, and Riga don't have anything. And then of course, but still, the local government, what they can do, and I'm not sure that Riga is doing really well. The sites, the industrial sites for industrial development in territorial planning, they can be, and they are assigned, but they are not very well developed. So my opinion is that if we go to these future industries, which are in the core of these industries are large-scale projects, then the cooperation between the local government and the ministries, and there are several ministries like climate and energy, economics are the main ones, so that is needed. And it somehow exists, and the ministries often talk with the municipalities, they talk with the industries in developers, but I think that it somehow does not work completely well so far, and the development is slow. We need somehow to increase the speed.
Alni?
Yeah, I simply wanted to respond also to this, since we are working in different municipalities, and well, we got very good experience with Ventspils, but we got also somewhere else, and we see also from the industry, from the renewable energy, that not all the municipalities are really welcoming the renewables. And here I actually would invite the municipalities to change their mindset from the point of view we don't want to the point we understand what we need. And for that, so first of all, my understanding is that what we need, what municipalities need, they need the people there. They need to create an environment where the people are happy to live. For that, they need money. They need infrastructure. Money is might be coming from these renewable energy projects. So that's kind of the first seed. After this first seed, the next will come. So basically, it's kind of really the chain reaction. That's what Hanne was describing, how attract investments and make the life of the local communities nicer, more attractive, so more people would come and follow.
Alni, maybe you can elaborate some more. What specifically, from your experience in Latvia, makes a municipality a strong and reliable partner in like long-term, large renewable energy infrastructure development?
Well, I kind of started already this to change their mindset really, from the point that the change we don't want, we can't, to the point okay, we understand what we want and we follow this. So far we had only a few experience really with one particular municipality where we established a small fund for the initial seats to the social needs of the municipality. We'll see how that will develop further. Probably more investments would come also following our renewable project there. So in a nutshell, I would say we should establish the partnership between the municipality and the developer. That's what's happened with Abendra, with European Energy, when we built our huge solar park, and followed by Power to X. So there was collaboration. I don't know whether there was any memorandum of understanding signed. I don't know this, but really it was a fair partnership between developer and the municipality.
Hanne, do you want to elaborate on what made you such a great partner for all these projects?
Yes, I think it's very easy when the fronts are very sort of blocked and the citizens are standing on one side and the politicians are not trusted and the developers want to develop their projects. It's easy to think of energy deployment as transactional, that the developers need to develop, so they need to pay some kind of fee for using this land and create monetary value only. But if you look at it as collaborative instead of transactionally, and if you look at what is that collaboration, what is the value we're creating together, then basically the energy sector can build a new foundation under societies that are about to fall. So there's absolutely no doubt that rural communities are not in good condition today. Young people are not interested, they move away. I said it before. So it's a way to revitalize. So if you can meet in the middle and the municipalities can say, listen, we want your energy project, but we actually also want some derived value for it. We want to use that energy locally. Could you maybe through your network come with somebody who can manufacture something, somebody who can use the energy? Or could you create green fuels? Because then we begin to have a bit of an ecosystem. That makes a lot more sense. And I think Områ has been a good partner because as a border region who lost their nationality to the Germans, got it back, only to be invaded in the Second World War, to lose all their ships, to then have to figure out something new. I think in Områ, we look at opportunities all the time. We know that we're always on the frontier, that we have to think anew. We're not just trying to protect the old, because we know the old, it gets outdated, so you do need to bring something new in. So I think what makes us a good partner is that we dare to look to the new and go, we don't really know how to do this, but we're going to try. and then we're going to find the path along the way.
Thank you. And and go ahead.
Yeah, I think one more aspect for the local communities, which might be, and it is slowly developing, it is energy communities. And but maybe it's not the only way how the local people can become owners of the renewable energy. I was also working in the Ministry of Economics when we developed the renewable as an energy community concept taken from the European directives. Now Ministry of Climate and Energy is already making support schemes, and the energy communities are developing. Actually so far on solar energy, but in European countries there is also that the local people or the energy community even owns the wind farm, and if the local people are involved in such a way, which it's a bit tricky how to organize that. It's not working in Latvia so far, but if we can somehow go in ahead that the local people are also owners of some shares of all that, then the attitude might become more positive.
Yes, Anders?
What I mentioned, I totally agree, Einārs, about this local sharing positions from the local peoples. They can be co-owner for the renewable park or producer, and that is, for my opinion, it's a very big and huge aspect from the local people. If it's okay, I don't want to some kind of bring these obstacles to developing this project. But from another side, there are two kind of development styles. One style is just paper, get the permissions, and that is evil from the municipality level, because they don't care anything. They want only get the paper, get all these permissions, and then buy it. Not buy, but sell it. And then comes the true development, who wants to talk to people how the better developing this project. As people local say, we don't trust you, because before you come another guy and this just all things is bad. And there is between these two sides, local people and development, are municipality. And what we can do if we bring to the developer side, okay, you are there is the money, okay, there is not so good for this side, and if we must stay between and try to balance it, and that's not good and not so easy to get it in positive way.
Two very good points, and I would like for Hanne to give her input on the first one. Have these energy community instruments and co-ownership been a useful and a good instrument versus the Green Fund, for example? And the second one, what has been your experience with the, let's say, two types of developers?
I'll start from the back. The two types of developers, basically, we're not interested in the first. So we work with developers who want to work with us and who want to work with our local communities. So we drive a constant dialogue. There's both the one that we're legally bound to with hearings, but we start a lot before that. So when we meet a developer who's going to develop something on the grounds out in the municipality, we say to them, go to the local council, start up a dialogue with them, figure out what they're interested in, what they want, what they're scared of, and build the trust. Then we'll have a meeting with you, the developer, the local council, and the municipality, and that's the next phase. So we run these dialogues where they meet both the politicians, they meet the developer, everybody's talking, and then in the end we get to the hearing, and by then we've found a solution, so it goes through. So I think it's very important that you know as a municipality that you have some power, and even though you need the economic development, you can actually have demands. And we've developed some guidelines. They're not legal, it's not a legal document, but we have some guidelines of how we think developers will have success. Because we know they won't get approved if the citizens don't want it. So that was that one. What was the other one?
The other one was about the co-ownership
yes.
mechanism.
I think I'll repeat what I said before, that it's not all transactional. It's not always about making money or about, how much do you get for your land. It's really about the quality of life. So I think the energy corporations or co-ownerships can be very good, and there's a lot of success with them in some places. But there are other places where people are not interested in it. They're just interested in having value for their community or be bought out. So in our municipality, where European Energy developed a solar park that's 3 kilometers long and 1.5 kilometers wide. And there was no way that could be planned without also looking at some houses that they needed to buy. And they gave a very nice offer to everyone. Do you want us to buy you out? Then we'll give you the market price, no devaluation, and then you can do something else. And many took this offer. And then they said to those who they weren't ready to move or they didn't want to sell, they said, okay, but we'll hold the offer for X amount of years so that you have some thinking time. And actually, they've chosen to stay, so that's fine. But I think it's a mistake to think that the only way is for the citizens to co-own the energy parks, because many actually find that more confusing. They're like, what? I don't know anything about that industry. I don't know about energy prices and how I can lose money, what the risks are. I don't know anything about shares. Like, just give me a fair and square deal. So it's not the only model, but it is a good one in some places.
We have been talking about these empowered municipalities from the state government side, from the ministries. Einārs, do you feel like ministries are doing enough to support this empowerment of local municipalities?
Actually, the problem is we have even recently changed with this government legislation that the local municipalities have more say regarding where they want or not to want to develop wind parks. But in fact, it was not working before, and then there are a huge amount of developers and the amount of wind energy in these projects is definitely much more than it is necessary at the moment. And as Andis mentioned, big part of the developers just wants to get a permit and sell the project. And most of them will not sell the project because there will not be enough buyers, but some might. Then of course, if that's their intention, often their attitude towards the local government is, and the local people is rather arrogant. And when I started my work in the Ministry of Economics rather many years ago, in the first week I went to the public consultation regarding environment impact assessment on the wind park, and the attitude of the developer with angry inhabitants, it was not their first meeting, and the arrogant developer and very angry inhabitants. And what it ended is that the local government did not give the permit, and although the environment impact assessment was completed and it was good, and it came to court for many years. The actual situation is that any development project in Latvia finalizes in court. It seems from the developer perspective, it is better that the state rejects rather than the state approves. Then the developer goes into the court against the state or the local government who is making the decision, and he can win the court. If the state approves, then the state gets very many court cases from the local inhabitants. That's yeah. I think it is the result of the legislation which was before that in fact the local people were not taken into account. They are angry, and then they form some kind of national level organizations which oppose any wind farm at all. In some cases there is good reason, in some cases not so good, but that's the result. So actually, because of maybe some wrong legislation before, we will have some time to fix that. It can't be done immediately.
Yes, this is very true. In Latvia, the matter of renewables, a lot of times the matter gets kind of zoomed out, and we only talk about the national risks, the national benefits. But my question to maybe all of you, and I would like you to answer from your stakeholder side standpoint, what could be done so that the conversation and the discussions around these development projects gets back in zoom-in mode? How can we zoom in to the local benefits? And I'm talking about concrete answers. Is it legislation? How can we do that? Yes, please.
I've heard some rumors that trust in the political system is perhaps not at its highest in Latvia. And so I would definitely use that as my framework if I wanted to improve conditions for energy deployment. Because with renewable energy, we rebuild society. We create new systems so that our society can exist tomorrow, so that our rural communities are in on it, part of it, and we rebuild our energy system so we have not only energy resilience, but also an opportunity to grow and create competitiveness, like we heard in the introductory speech. So if we don't have political trust, we have no dialogue. So I would start with communication about renewable energy. I would make sure it was part of educational curriculums. I would create collaborative projects so that communities get to actually sit in workshops and work with this and understand we have these problems in our community. We can fix them by working with these developers. Energy at the foundation, but also others. So I really think it's a communication task, but it's a communication task that is involving. It's not just propaganda. In Denmark, there was a survey done, research. It was a university running it. A survey done because during our elections, it looked like the Danish population was just not having it with more solar parks. And this survey went really, really broadly out and asked, are you in on the green transition? Are you in on energy implementation, solar, wind? And something like 68% were in. So there was no mismood about green energy. And I think if these researches are not done, if we don't have that data, and if we don't communicate it, then the political mistrust will continue, and then you'll get nowhere.
Thank you, Hanne. Alnis?
Just one very quick interference. I just would like to echo that what Hanne is saying. Communication, communication, communication. And here is a part, and that's communication both on the project base and on national level. And for this national level, you see the panels there, Savā, zemē, enerģija. That's the campaign what the Latvian Renewable Energy Alliance Association started to communicate with community, with society. We are explaining, we are trying to cover these myths which are going around and around and around. So once again, communication, communication, communication on all levels.
Andi?
Yeah, communication. Let's start. After communication, we must explain what we want, what we do, what will be, and after that, trust. We must make the trust of local society to this project, and if these three things are positive, then it's fly. So simple, but not so simple.
Easy to say, hard to do. Einārs?
Yes, agreeing to all what was said before, and that my point is what I already mentioned, the wider economical development perspectives. And if people will understand that, maybe the attitude will change gradually.
Okay, we are rapidly moving to a close of this discussion. I'm kind of sad, but before we end our discussion, I did a poll using Slido. The question was, what social risks or benefits, because both can happen with renewable energy development, could be created in your specific municipality where you're from? And maybe very quickly from each of the panelists, I'd like to hear which results should be treated as a warning sign, as a red flag, that something in the development process on the national, local level is not going great and according to plan. And in order to achieve our goals, and maybe which benefit is most often promised or sought after, but is actually the hardest to deliver. So maybe let's start with the less pleasant about the red flags. Which is a red flag?
Tailing on to what we all just said about communication, unequal benefit distribution is a red flag because it's a misunderstanding. So in my eyes, that would probably come from something having not been explained properly, or where that was created, you've been working with a developer number one who wasn't interested in creating local value. So that would be number one. But I also think, I mean, there are some great things there. I would always say future proofing, because that's really that's a good thing that you can that everybody understands it. And that's basically what we're doing. And here it says future possibilities, so that's good. And then I would say maybe a yellow flag on the property value. It says can be good or bad. And it's probably a little bit this if you live right next to an energy park, then your house value can be decreased. However, that would be a sign of really poor planning. So strategic planning is everything. There's also the visual landscape degradation. Well, if it gets really degraded, then you've planned it wrong. So there's a lot you can do to make sure that it becomes part of the landscape with the wind turbines, and solar, you plant something green around it so you actually don't see it. So yeah, that would be.
Thank you. Does anyone else see any red flags here from the poll?
I think, no, not really. They were already mentioned, and I agree on it was mentioned before, but I would like to mention lower energy costs, and here is a risk. Actually, the energy cost in the whole North Pole region, of course, there are very many aspects of how the energy costs occur, and it can be that if we put maybe too big expectations that building some wind farms will very much lower energy costs, then it might be a problem.
Okay, and Andy, a question to you. Which benefit is most often promised from this list? Which do you hear the most?
Positive.
You're choosing.
I want to choose a lower energy cost because it's my, for me it's that thing what's work in our society. If we have a lower energy cost, we can develop households, developing businesses, because this is main resource for the business.
And last question to Alnis. Which benefit, which social benefit is actually the hardest to deliver?
Yeah, that's a really challenging question. Actually, yeah, I was thinking about different things. Maybe, which is not a good statement, but actually a lower energy cost, because we can, of course, there are different legal techniques how to make it, but indeed we are part of the Nord Pool, where the prices are not defined only in Latvia, but for a wider region. So in that sense, we cannot secure, say, the lower price, but we can secure lower price through the PPAs, power purchase agreements, and which, of course, that's a completely different dimension to discuss, but which probably would be possible to discuss also when the developer comes to the municipality and wants to develop the project, and probably in the meantime discuss the PPA agreement with the municipality.
Yes, Hanne?
Just a small comment. For the lower energy costs to happen, it means that more municipalities need to follow your example. So if more deploy green energy, then the prices will fall in all of Latvia, also for the citizens. If only some municipalities deploy, then you have the PPAs, but then it's mostly to the businesses. So get more on board.
Thank you to all of our panelists, and I was very happy that after our discussion, I don't know if anyone else saw this, but the developer and the municipality actually agreed on the same benefits. So with that being said, let's keep working towards our own energy in our own land. And thank you everybody who was listening, and thank you to our panelists.